Welcome back to another episode of Do This, Do Not Do That, and you definitely do not want to be doing this because it's actually mad that I'm even making this video now. I was even thinking about this. I was writing down some notes for it last night, and I'm like, I need to speak about this because I'm speaking to so many clients about it. It's becoming more and more prevalent and more obvious, and it stands out to me because I've experienced it myself, and it's something that I need to make sure that I am safeguarding and staying true to myself. And I was on the beach yesterday and I was actually having a chat with a client, and we bumped into someone, right? And there's two stories to take away from this. Really nice girl that runs a yoga class, and she introduced herself and she just got chatting to us. But at the same time, not long before that conversation started, myself and Ailey were walking down the beach, this beautiful beach, Binging Beach, I believe it is. Stunning, right? Bangalang Beach, I don't know. B and it ends in an N, right? It's a nice beach. And it's like Bali has stood still there. It's like there's something about it that's so beautiful. And as we walked down the beach, there was like three girls, good looking girls in their bikinis, like looking like they're having a good time. And one of them had like a camera. And as we got closer and closer, I was like, all right, they're taking some videos and taking some pictures. And then I kept noticing that they haven't even really stopped. That they're just so focused on this camera and getting the perfect angle and getting the perfect picture. And then we kept walking and we bumped into this person and we chatted to them for maybe 10 to 15 minutes, totally present in the conversation. And then as I was having the conversation, I kind of zoned out from it and I looked over, and these girls again were at another spot of the beach doing the same thing again, posing for different pictures. And there was a little part of me as the creator, the version, the person that sees the stuff. I see the person taking the picture, but then I also get this little synapse of what that's going to look like on Instagram, what that's going to look like on a thumbnail, because that's what happens when you do this. And I could also see these girls doing it as well. But the scary thing from this is they were not there. They weren't there at all. And me and Ailey actually proceeded to then go back, chill, get a wee drink somewhere, and we actually done a little bit of work and we were replying to clients. And as I was replying to a client, I looked to the right and the girls were all sat on their phones going over the pictures. And I think the biggest lesson from this is that I was on this stunning beach, just bumping into a random person, having a great conversation, chatting away, and I was looking at these other people having a totally different experience from what I was having. And I was having a similar conversation with a client, and I was actually talking about this because we were talking about this sort of persona that you create online can enhance you, or it can almost actually ruin your life. And she actually sent me through a quote that she gets sent from someone else, and I've written it down here. Caring more about looking happy on social media than actually being happy in real life might just be the greatest mistake our generation continues to make. How terrifying is that? And I had a similar chat with someone else last week. Now, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a creator. You don't have to be someone that's in the same line of work as me. Most people have an online persona, whether they like it or not. And even if they don't post on there, they spend a lot of time on there. So a lot of your self-image is built through social media. And what can the danger to that if you're not being true to yourself and you're trying to enhance the life out of everything and taking 40 minutes, 60 minutes to pick the perfect picture, and you're always analysing things so critically, you then take that self-image that you put onto social media and you take it into real life. No wonder so many folk are miserable now. No wonder so many people are unhappy now. No wonder so many people are stuck in this cycle of comparing themselves to other people. The reason why you are looking at yourself through such a hard lens is because you put such a hard lens onto everything else, right? Now, I know that everyone says comparison is a thief of joy, right? I use comparison in a way that enhances me all the time, but comparison is a spectrum. But when you cross the line and go into the dark side of that spectrum is when you're not being very nice to yourself, you're not being very honest about yourself, and you're actually putting up this false identity of who you are in an effort to purely keep up with the Joneses. That's all it is. You want to tick those boxes. You want to do those things. Me and Ailey have always had this sort of ongoing joke with myself. Obviously Ailey's now a coach. She has a business online, a persona online. But prior to that, it was me doing it. I'd been doing it for 5.5, 6 years before Ailey got into it. And the ongoing joke was always, if I was a little bit more spicy, for any of my people that are not Scottish, spicy is a sort of term of you're the typical sort of guy or girl. You buy into that persona, that image that's been created. And I've always the ongoing joke has always been if I was just a little bit more spicy, then my business would probably do a little bit better. I'd probably have a little bit more engagement. And that is the sad facts of it. I always remember and this is, there's so many rabbit holes I can go down here, but I actually remember being, like, growing up, going on nights out, partying and drinking, and the next day you'd throw up a few photos, and there was like this like sort of hierarchy, unspoken hierarchy of like whose photo you liked, whose photo you didn't like, and it was almost like the person with the higher self-image that had the higher status would get more engagement. I'm going down a bit of a rabbit hole here, but the point I'm trying to get at here is like there is this unspoken hierarchy that if you tick X, Y, and Z box, you will get more engagement, you will get more follows, you will get more people like your shit. And what that then does is it enhances the little dopamine buzz that you get, but ultimately, that spectrum that I said going down that dark hole, you then cross a line where you're actually compromising who you actually are, and then you don't actually even know who you are. You've got this mad image that you're trying to keep up, that you're trying to pretend to be. And guys, this isn't just in like a picture from a night out. This is like everything from like, you're like, right, okay, I'm going to tag my coach in a video and I'll make it look like I'm crushing my workout. But earlier on that day, you had a meltdown. And what this then becomes is it's like you're wearing this mask and it like suppresses you. It like holds you back, and it is exhausting to wear this mask. And I see this all the time. Like, I've worked with so many people that have online personas. I've worked with people that are coaches. I've worked with people that have personal brands online. I've worked with people that are just genuinely quite active on social media, that have large followings. I've had clients that have had tens of thousands of followers. And the biggest thing that I typically see in that, unless that person has a service or an offer, what usually happens is they end up actually bent out of shape mentally, because they've got this person who they're trying to be, then they've got this person who they are. Now, they're not nurturing the person who they are, and they're nurturing the life out of the person that they're trying to be. And none of their actions align with that, and they end up actually just feeling awful. Now, Jim Carrey put it better than anyone, speaking about depression. Now, that word depression gets thrown about now, and everyone hears the word depression, or they hear the word like let's use the example of like when someone says they've got an alcohol problem. Everyone thinks of someone like Barney from Simpsons lying in the gutter, right? That's the worst case scenario. Someone with an alcohol problem can be someone that literally can't go by a weekend without having a bottle of wine every Friday or Saturday night, right? It doesn't have to be the extreme end of the spectrum. Now, it's the same as this. Like, a lot of people think about, like, they hear the word depression and they're like, oh, you have to be in your bed, you can't get out of bed in the morning. There's levels to it. And Jim Carrey spoke about it so well. Like, obviously him being the actor that he was, he speaks about this idea that when you're always trying to be someone, you end up really, really tired, and you end up really, really exhausted. And what happens when you're exhausted is you have to go into deep rest. You end up depressed. And this is his idea, and it really speaks to my soul, because I've been there as well. I've been there where I'm putting out this image, I'm putting out this brand, I'm putting out this persona, and it's not that I am lying about who I am, but what ends up happening is that my actions are not aligned with where I'm at, and I'm not being entirely honest about where I'm at as well. If anyone's followed my content for long enough now, one of the biggest comments I always get is that I'm very honest. I'm honest about my struggles, I'm honest about my mental health, I'm honest about things that trip me up, I'm honest about lessons. I am so honest, and I just don't think that, like, I don't think it's as cool and it's not as sexy, so it probably doesn't get the engagement it deserves. But actually, when you have this thing that's really cool, really quirky, and you see it a lot here, man, like, Bali is like the content creator central, right? It is the place where so many folk flock to. But you see the Instagram versus reality, you see the cool picture being taken, and you see what it looks like after, but you actually see it being taken, and it's not actually that impressive. And this false self-image that so many folk are pushing out not only cripples themselves, but it leads other people into a false sense of security that that's how life actually is, and it isn't. And it's taken me a long, long period of time, because at the beginning I cared so much about what people thought. Like, I really, really did. When I was breaking away and I was starting to draw my own line in the sand, live my life by design, like live life on my own terms, start my own business, there was this period where, like, people had an idea who I was, and I had to battle through it. There was a lot of comments, and it was like, who does that? Like, why are you doing that? Stop doing that. And it's because everyone's idea of who I was didn't align with this person that I was trying to be. And you're going to go through that, guys. Like, when you're trying to change who you are, live life to a higher standard, better yourself, be clear on your values, live to your highest values, and be the person that you truly want to be, and be authentically yourself, there's going to be teething, especially if you've not been behaving in line with that person, guys. So, you need to catch yourself out, right? Because this isn't just something that's going to change overnight. This is something you have to surrender to. It's something you have to commit to. But the reason why you have so many limiting beliefs in the first place, and the reason why you're crippled with comparison, and the reason why you have all these thoughts and feelings and worry so much about what people think about you, is because you've been putting on a false persona of who you actually are. That's it. That's why it's happened. And ultimately, that judgment that you've casted out, that you're just being dishonest with yourself, you've been lying to yourself about where you're at, you've almost romanticized what your life is actually like. And as a result of that, if you don't live up to that, no one else actually cares, by the way. This is the mad thing. There might be someone else that cares, but like, if someone really cares about something that you do or don't do, they're probably not someone you want to be hanging about with anyway. It's someone you don't even know who's judging you. Are you really going to care about that person when you're 80 years old? You're not going to care about that person. But ultimately, the reason why you're in the pickle that you're in, you've got all this judgment on you, you've got so many, you're just crippled by the thought of what someone else is going to say, what someone else is going to do, is because you've been keeping up with the Joneses and you've been trying to play a game. So guys, understand that we've only got fucking one life, and I don't know what age you are if you're watching this. I'm assuming you're probably in the demographic anywhere between your mid-20s to your mid-30s to your late 30s, anywhere about there, right? If you're probably watching this bit of content. Stop trying to be someone and be the person. It's your actions that speak louder than your words, right? See, if you find yourself taking 1,000,001 different photos, right? Ailey will tell you, I'm the worst person ever when it comes to taking pictures. It's probably why my Instagram's not, so she's laughing right now in the background, right? It's probably why my Instagram's not, it is highly polished, I've worked hard on it, right? Because I just fire things up. Like even this video right now, I've literally opened my camera, put it on, sat down. Could I be more aligned to the middle of the windows and sit there? Yeah, I probably could. Could I have a better angle with the sun? Yeah, I probably could. I don't care. What I care about is the message that I put out there and how honest I am being with myself. Because the minute when I start doing that and caring about things like that aren't actually that important, I'm not being true to myself. And what it ends up doing is it creates like a fucking standard that will just then cripple me. And I'm all about having high standards, by the way, right? But there's high standards and there's wasting time and energy and things that don't actually really matter, right? So this game starts with you being more honest with yourself. It's not a one-step guide. It's not go and do this, go and do that. It starts with you taking a long, hard look in the mirror and being like, where am I doing that right now? Because most folk are doing it. Most people are doing it. And the danger zone that you can fall into, that I've been in many a times, is that when you build up the things that you do, the status, it's almost overwhelming that you have to keep up with that. The reality is you don't. You keep up to the standard that you want to set to yourself. But remember, guys, there are two worlds. There is the real world and there's the virtual world. Make sure that they align. Do not be dishonest about it. Anyone will tell you. The guy that you see in these videos right now, yeah, I might be up at level 10 right now. The volume might be cranked up, but it's the same guy that you meet in real life. I'm no different. And it's something that you want to make sure that you're being true to yourself. Make sure you're being honest, because this is where so many folk go wrong, that they get stuck in the same spot because they're trying to be someone that they are not. And their actions outside of that little glimpse that they're putting up on Instagram or they're putting up in their Instagram stories is actually just a completely inaccurate lens of who they are. And they need to start actually living in line with that. And then they can document it along the way, because that's the stuff that really matters. Anyway, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go and subscribe to the channel. And that's all I really have to say. We've got something pretty cool launching on the 13th of February, and I said January. And it's going to be for anyone that wants to improve their productivity, get clear on setting goals, actually avoid making the really obvious mistakes that we see so many people make when it comes to setting goals, setting intentions, how to actually effectively plan, because there needs to be a plan for the plan, right? There needs to be planning. It can't just be a plan, right? You need to have the planning, you need to have the strategy to get there. And actually, how to avoid the easily avoidable stuff that everyone doesn't really take into account, that after 8 years of coaching, I can see like a red dot. It stands out to me. So that's going to be launching on the 13th of February. It's going to be free, by the way, like completely free. So yeah, guys, if you're watching this back and it's past the 13th of February, then it's too late, innit? So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. You took a lot away from it. Catch you in a bit. See you later. Goodbye.